right? So what you're advocating is scrap it all because you just assume it's all going to end terribly.
See, there is a say that there is enough on everybody's need, but there is not enough for even one person's greed. So if industries and these capitalists and this sitting the Wall Street greed people, if they can get out of their boxes of greed and they believe in distribution and sharing and equality, the nature has enough intelligences to produce food for everybody's need.
So what are the lizard people doing, Katie? Why are they trying to genetically modify us through artificial crops?
My housemate has told me these aren't my theories or my beliefs, but apparently it is because Earth isn't the only planet out there. Obviously Earth isn't the only the one dimension out there. I think the belief is that there are multiple universes and we only exist in the one. So the reptilians have come from an alternate universe and they've run out of, energy on their planet. So they're exploiting humans to do the work for them. So the theory is that all these conspiracy theories and all these government bodies are actually all in on it. They're all reptilians and they're all part of the reptilian.
It's interesting. A lot of these conspiracy theories are based around ignorance and scarcity and power, and they're always derived from aspects which draw on the negative side of humanity, our fear, our greed, our sorrow. We have reptilians and Illuminati because we don't want to acknowledge the fact that our governments, which we elected, are horrible. So we blame it on others. We don't want to acknowledge the fact that we've just made bad choices ourselves. So there's a way of almost shifting the blame. Because time and time again, these conspiracy theories just seem to be people who are just afraid and just are looking for answers, but don't want to look at their own life and actually blame themselves for all their bad choices. But then what about the conspiracies which did turn out to be true? I think they're also quite fascinating because people would protest or say, hey, this is going on. And people then say, no, it's not happening. It's impossible. Then documents are released, and all of a sudden you have real truth. Ian, what have you found?
This again feeds into the fear and fear of government and governments trying to control things. But there's the famous conspiracy that the US government was trying to mind control people, in particular because they're in the middle of the Cold War, I think, at the time. This was in the 1950s, I should say. And basically, there were a lot of threats at the time. Russia was a threat. China was a threat. And for some strange reason, the US government believed that they had the ability to mind control or to read minds. And so they created a program called Project MK Ultra, in which they were trying to do a few things. One was trying to learn how to control people's minds and harness ESP and all that kind of stuff. They were also trying to create a truth serum, basically using LSD and other drugs to create a drug they give to someone and then they would have to tell the truth. And also they had the ability to see information that they couldn't see just with their eyes. So using their mind's eye to see information. And the purpose of that one was to find documents in the enemy's camp and understand their battle plans and all that kind of stuff. But what that meant was that they were experimenting on people using all sorts of, like I said, drugs like LSD. They were experimenting on children. It was a pretty scary scenario. See, the interesting part about this conspiracy is that it was driven by fear on both parts. It was driven by fear from the American people and that a government would be willing to control someone's mind and had that ability. It also was driven into fact by a conspiracy that was happening that the Russians were controlling people's minds. And so America was actually retaliating to a conspiracy with a conspiracy. So kind of a weird loop there. But
it's more like an information war at the moment. That's what's happening. Yeah, that's the best way to infiltrate enemies is through information, and it's an advantage in the war front side of things. But going back to your point, Spiro, is the fact that the self-responsibility, the self-governing comes into play here. It's more, if you wanted to take responsibility of your actions and of your behaviors and everything and around you, more of these conspiracy theories will fall beneath it, because the fact that you're putting the blame on the other component is the underlying cause in here.
The interesting part about the conspiracy theories as well, it's actually one that was, truthful to an extent. What pretty much brought down communism was the space race almost like the arms race in the 80s during the Cold War, where Russia was getting fed all this really bad information about the Americans having a lot more weapons than they said that they did, and that caused them pretty much to make even more weapons, which actually existed, whereas the American ones to an extent didn't. And that started bringing around the demise of communism, because the people started to starve in Russia, and all the people that were running the country at the time started losing their political influence because people started to murmur, and it got more and more, I guess, out there. Then, that's conspiracy on the part of the American government actually did bring around change, like the conspiracy of them having more weapons than they did, which in truth the Russians believed them to an extent. And it's an interesting part that where conspiracies have actually even caused change.
Well, it's interesting that you raise war as well, because it's interesting when conspiracy is touted as fact. And one of the biggest ones is the Iraq War, that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction, and that became a justification to invade a country. That's where conspiracies become dangerous, because it's easy to look at flat Earth and go, that's stupid, don't worry about it. But once you get to a point where it's actually influencing the world, that's where it is dangerous.
Yeah. Climate change is another example. That's where the government is under constant scrutiny by the people. It should be done by the people all the time. Whenever any message or any law or idea is coming into the mass population, it has always, each individual needs to cross-check and verify the data.
Okay, so I'm a rational human being, or I like to believe I am. One of my favorite conspiracy theories is Area 51. I just love the idea that aliens had come to Earth, visited us, and crash landed, and that they're all now, there's dead bodies in a bunker somewhere in the Nevada desert. And I don't know. I want to believe. I know that that's very X-Files-y, but I want to believe. And it's spawned, actually, it's permeated throughout pop culture. It's just one of those theories and conspiracies, like the JFK assassination is just always going to be there, and for maybe in 1,000 years' time, we'll still be talking about the bunker, Area 51, or who shot Kennedy, or all these kind of theories. They're fun to think about. I mean, I know that Kennedy obviously died, but the idea of who done it, like, people love that kind of murder mystery side of things. And in Area 51, just the idea that it's like a smaller version of the reptilian theory. At least these aliens aren't trying to control us, but it's the sense of other. It's fascinating.
I agree, yeah. I think it's exciting. I think it gives you an opportunity to kind of be distracted away from your everyday reality. I think that's why people like hearing about it. I think whether they're true, whether any of them are real or not, I think it's always nice to be distracted from everyday normal type of thinking.
Yeah, it's good once in a while to put a scapegoat in there, right?
Yeah, I mean, who could forget the alien autopsy, the Roswell incident? If anyone's seen it, well documented, about they supposedly found the actual autopsy of the alien. If anyone's seen it,
yeah, it looks pretty.
I've seen photos.
It's hilarious.
It is. But for that whole time it came out, people believed that's how it was. Yeah.
The cool thing about Area 51 is it's not a government conspiracy in a way. Obviously, it's a government conspiracy in the sense that they're hiding aliens, but it wasn't originated from the government. It was just some people that happened to see something crash land into the Earth, and then suddenly Area 51. So, so it's just interesting how that happens. Another one I'd like to, I don't know if this counts as a conspiracy, but it's definitely on the same topic. Scientology. How the hell do people believe Scientology? Because it's the person that wrote it is a science fiction writer, Ron L. Hubbard. I mean, everyone knew that this wasn't real, but somehow it's morphed into something that people believe to be real. Right?
What's fascinating about L. Ron Hubbard is his tie-in with the space race and occultism and a whole bunch of stuff back in the day prior to him forming Scientology. There is a gentleman called Jack Parsons. He basically was a very intelligent, very liberal-minded, open-minded individual who believed in free love and everything else, as well as jet propulsion and rockets. He invented solid-state fuel. He effectively created JPL, Jet Propulsion Labs, for NASA. He is really the father of the moon landing, so to speak, by creating the fuel. He also was good mates with L. Ron Hubbard. So we've got a scientist who created fuel dealing with L. Ron Hubbard, who was a science fiction writer who created religion. Equally, Jack Parsons was an occultist. So we've got a supernatural influence there. It's actually quite a crazy story involving a gentleman called Aleister Crowley, which some people may know, some people may not. So it's a mixture of things. And out of this is Scientology is spawned. And now we've got a religion which spans the globe. It's very secretive. You pretty much are in it for life. If you do leave, you are in big trouble. They'll hunt you down and make your life a misery. And we've got Tom Cruise effectively almost being the figurehead for it and loving it. Is there a conspiracy there? Possibly, because someone knows that it's a con. Someone knows, a lot of people maybe know it's a con, but a lot of people are being fooled into believing it. Or the alternative is maybe there is something there, which would be extraordinary and a bit outrageous. I don't think it would be. But maybe it tied into the Anunnaki, the gods, the aliens that Scientology seems to go on about. Maybe it's all true. Maybe the truth is out there, and we are already infiltrated by reptilian, alien doohickeys that run a religion called Scientology on this planet. It's one of those crazy, crazy stories.
And a lot of people would believe it.
Yeah. But then again, you can flip it around and say one of the biggest religions on the planet is Christianity, and you put a supernatural alien twist on that, and it sounds quite crazy. So you could say a cosmic father figure god is coming down, sending angels who seem to fly around and seem very alien-like, talking and abducting people and impregnating them. And all of a sudden, out comes a baby Jesus. So it's a science fiction story just wrapped around in a religion potentially as well.
Yeah, wasn't there a theory by an Australian couple? I don't know exactly what time ago, but that there was that God made everything, or that it was everything evolved, and then there was this third theory that humans all came from different planets. Like you've got the Asians and, say for instance, the Europeans, and I guess Australia's maybe a bad example, but that every race of people, how everyone's different, that they came from outer space, from different space colonies. I don't know if anyone knows about that, but that was some Australian scientists that had part of the world believing that's how it happened.
Well, it would cause a bit of racial divide amongst the planet if we all said, hey, Ian's an alien.
Damn it, how you revealing my secret? Come on, man.
But what planet are you from, mate? How do we know? How do I trust you?
I'm an FBI agent in a country that doesn't exist, whilst also being an alien and on a flat Earth. And what else am I doing? I don't know. And drinking water and being mind controlled by pharmaceuticals. It's awesome. Welcome to my world.
Such is life, man. It's the alien dropping the signal again, man. Bloody hell.
Sorry about that, guys.
All right. I don't know about you guys, but what I'm sure that lately, while I was in a theater in New Delhi till I got picked up to play the actor role in Australian land. So that's what I'm sure about. I don't even know you're coming from Mars or Moon.
If we are all actors and we're really underpaid, and the FBI and CIA need to pay us a lot more because we're simulating our real jobs way too well. All right.
We are pretty terrible actors.
We are. I was on Broadway. I've got Emmys and Tony Awards, and here I am pretending to be an Australian. It's horrible.
In a country that doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Are we really real, or are we just a figment of our own imagination? That's the question.
I think that's a completely different topic there, Andre.
Can of worms. Oh,
did you see Atish's eyes light up on that question, though?
We'll save that for another podcast, I think.
All right.
Well, looking at all the decisions which we make, and Ian, that's what we were discussing yesterday, that we believe that we are the doers of our actions. But when we look at the third layer of the unconscious mind, where things starts first in forms of desires or emotions or something, which triggers into thoughts, and the thoughts makes you actually turn it into a physical action. So I would not call that a conspiracy, because somehow it is not trying to devastate you. But this is something touching to the point that do we really exist as an actor on an Australian land or as an existence on this earth?
With that, we got to leave it to the audience to answer that question, Spirit.
That's right. Now, any other conspiracies to discuss?
I think there's plenty. I mean, we could go on for days on all the different conspiracy theories. Going back to one, I guess this wasn't a huge one, but it affected mainly the US. A conspiracy that turned out to be true was prohibition. So during Prohibition, they were claiming the government were purposely poisoning them. So later on, it actually turned out